Hello, War of the Ring players. Bihali back with my second game against Laker in the round of 64 in the 2025 War of the Ring World Tournament. I'm playing free people in this one, starting with the Scouts, which I'm always happy to see. There is Another Way is a little early. A great card. Something you'd typically prefer to get as you approach Mordor. But a Scouts is a first draw, not playable, but uh, Scouts is a very good card to have early. So let's jump in. It's been more than a month since I played this game, so I don't remember a ton about it, and we'll all discuss it as it happens. And I say FSP okay for now, it only gets worse for them. I mean, that's true. My opponent allocates one eye and doesn't roll any more, but that's a pretty good shadow starting roll. I mean, one more muster would be great, but anytime you get two musters, that's great. And, I'm probably really happy to see that as well. It would be better if I had a card that I could play with that Palantir, but against one eye, 3 moves, pretty good. I think if I could replace that Palantir with an H, I'd be pretty happy with that, especially considering I have Scouts in hand. But 3 movement is a great way to start the game. So my opponent wisely begins by drawing. Just as like a aside, I will always do this first as well. I think people are too hastily move out of Dol Guldur and Moria in particular. If you pull, if you can draw first turn, even second turn, and you're able to go looking for Orcs Multiplying again, pits, or shadows on the Misty Mountains, right? That's 3 out of 24 cards. It's not likely, but it's not super unlikely that if you are able to draw 2 or 3 times before you move out of Dol Guldur or Moria, that you'll draw something that is actually helpful. I could go run the numbers for you, but I would guess just off the top of my head, right? Like 3 out of 24, and then 3 out of 23, 3 out of 22, 3 out of 21, 3 out of 20, 3 out of 19. Let's say you get that many draws. If you have 3 Palantirs in the first 2 turns, when you start multiplying all those odds together, you start to get pretty close to about 50%. Anyway, yeah, just an aside, but staying put in Dol Guldur and Moria is actually something you'll see me do a lot in my games as Shadow. All right, so I move. I missed my opponent. So they're gonna. This is almost certainly a dude line rush. If my opponent is choosing to muster Sauron rather than take, rather than get Saruman in play. If you're gonna put which of course makes it even sadder that I didn't have an H dice, because now I probably won't get to use the Scouts in Old Forest Road, which is the optimal place to use it. Moves down, I move again, I'm hit. It's an I. That's pretty sad. I'm kind of surprised I take Gandalf here. Although I guess maybe I can just use, maybe I'm planning to just use that Palantir to hide. I don't have any playable cards, right? So maybe I'm just planning to use that Palantir to hide and then, excuse me, move again. But given that my opponent isn't going to be getting a minion this turn, kind of maybe a bit odd, maybe premature to take Gandalf. Whatever, we'll see. Okay, so if I were in my opponent's shoes here, I probably would have moved, knowing what Free People has done here. You can sort of intuit what their plan is. If they had a playable card with that Palantir, they would I would have played it before I lost Gandalf. Excuse me, sorry. And so you know what the Free People plan is, and a reroll here is pretty impactful. You got a 50-50 shot to hit without a reroll. You've got a 2 50-50 shots, so 75% to hit with a reroll, and a reveal into Moria would be pretty big here. So let's see if So I would have moved from North Dunland onto the Fellowship to get a reroll here. Wait, I moved and they forgot to roll. Oh, they do. Okay. Well, okay. So it wouldn't have mattered. They wouldn't have needed the reroll, but still, I think it's probably optimal to put a reroll on the Fellowship with that other half move. And it's also interesting that they're sending both of these armies towards the dew line. Sure. I mean, there's 5 points up there. Spending 2 armies on it is a worthwhile expenditure of 2 armies. I take a random. Okay, that's. I mean, I I think that there's philosophies about this as well. There are folks who don't take casualties until they're above 4 corruption, uh, and so would just soak this 3. I'm generally of the belief that like you want to be whittling down your companions in general, especially if you're holding there as another way, right? Like getting rid of companions is great if you can do it efficiently. Um, Against a 3, I'm almost always going to take a random, even if I'm at 0 corruption. Some exceptions to that would be if I'm holding Athelos. I might not take the random. Um, that's about it, though. I think otherwise, I against a 3, even this early in the game, I'm happy to risk it. I mean, it wouldn't be great if I lost Strider here, but again, if I lose Strider here, I can just really burn down companions and get down to Golem. And then the loss of Strider's hide ability is less of a big deal. I don't know. Uh, a Hobbit here would have been okay as well, because then I could have chucked them over into Buckland, and then if I pull Fearfire Foes, I can make the North a bit of a pain, given how much commitment is headed towards the dew line right now. But, you know, I think maybe the optimal companion to lose here would have been Legolas or Gimli, so that Axe and Bow and Horn of Gondor are still playable, but happy to lose a 2 here. I think that's probably, optimal. Okay. What a good top deck. I mean, that's incredible. I couldn't have asked for a better card. Let's see what happens here. So my opponent allocates an eye, rolls 1 more. Wow. That's also about the best roll I could have asked for. Okay. I mean, I'm guessing my opponent's pretty... They would have preferred something besides Palantirs, but... excuse me. Yeah, probably 4 attacks, or 3 attacks and a muster to get Witch King would have been ideal here for Shadow. But, you know, you can still just attack Carrick, attack Dale, get the Witch King. Well, that's probably what I do. Yeah, let's see what happens. So I move first. Makes sense. I was at 1 move over Moria, so moving again, so that my opponent can't use one of those Palantirs to play Nazgul Search, Nazgul Strike, Isildur, etc., which they may have top decked. So let's see. They have Phlox. Interesting. Do I move again against Phlox here? What else would I... There's an argument to be made for using the additional C die at this point to play There Is Another Way. If I was 1 step further, there'd be a pretty serious argument for playing Gua here and sending Strider to DA, but sadly, that will not happen. Do I move? I mean, So do you really want to move again here with a 75% chance of getting hit if Phlox is used? Probably. Probably. I'm guessing I do move again. Oh, so they attack Dale, and I go ahead and use Scouts. That seems good. Where will I send them? I'm guessing I send them to Woodland Realm because I have Thranduil. Yeah. That leaves Erebor a little exposed, but... so what? Oh, what am I doing? Oh, they don't have a minion yet. What am I talking about? I go ahead and use my will to... Okay, got it. So I use my will to move the dwarves over to Erebor, just in case my opponent decides to go head there from Dale. That also makes Woodland Realm look a little juicier, trying to draw them into Woodland Realm so I can play Thranduil after they've committed to going to Woodland Realm. And then, yeah, I think there's an argument for moving over from Carrick to Old Forest Road with that second half move. But it's also good to get the units out of Edoras ready to reinforce Helm's Deep. I suppose maybe if I get an H die next turn, I'll probably move to Old Forest Road and Fords from West of Net. Okay, so my opponent, that is very interesting. Okay, so this is a pretty clear Shadows Gather move. I don't know if that's what they originally intended with that army, or if they drew Shadows Gather and decided to pivot a little bit. This is great because the elves have not been mustered yet. So if they Shadows Gather to Dimril Dale, even if I muster the elves this turn, I'm not going to get a muster into Woodland Realm or Lorien. No matter what happens next turn. I mean, assuming my opponent doesn't roll 0 attacks, but that's not an assumption that I'd be willing to make. So I'm guessing I just... what will I spend that muster on? I'm probably going to move again. And if I get revealed, I'll use that muster to hide. I think that probably makes sense. Nope, I just go ahead and play Thranduil. That's probably a mistake. It's probably a mistake. Because now I'm sort of incentivizing my opponent to attack Erebor instead. Although, they don't have enough units up there anymore. I feel like I just gave my opponent information I didn't need to give them. I feel like moving, if I was going to move, moving would have been the right choice. And then keeping that muster to hide. Faramir is a great card. Yeah, so Shadows Gather. Huh. Okay, so I did decide not to move against Phlox again. That's reasonable. I mean, I lost Gandalf to a 1. I've been hit. Since I lost Gandalf to a 1, I'm probably feeling like I need to be a little more careful about corruption. And I don't want to move again. I don't want to move again over Moria with Phlox in play. Interesting. My opponent gets the Witch King. They cannot do that. No one is at war. Oh, and yeah, I say can't. No one is at war. Great. So they move... Great, so they move Isengard to war. Dead Men. Oh my. That is a great card. My opponent's still on 7 dice, which is not great given that we're on turn 3. Yeah, they only roll 1 muster, so they can get 1 minion this turn. I mean, that said, I could have, if they'd gotten a minion early, I could have gotten Gandalf a couple times now. I only get 1 move. That's pretty disappointing. So, yeah, they just start... So, interesting. So I might have waited on that if I were in their shoes. The reason being that if I have Mirror of Galadriel, I can now get Gandalf. And I'm not sure, is there really a rush to get Saruman in particular? Maybe. I mean, they might have a playable card that they want to use. But wouldn't it be better to maybe attack Woodland Realm? I'm not going to field battle. Maybe they're worried I would field battle. But I'm not going to do a field battle there because I can't muster. Even if I win. Like, the elves are at step 1 on the political track. So there's probably an argument here for holding that muster, attacking Woodland Realm later on in the turn, keeping, say, a muster and 2 attacks in hand as Shadow, attacking Woodland Realm, attacking Lorien, and then putting the Witch King into Lorien. That's probably what I would do. Anyway, let's see what happens. So my opponent goes into Lorien, and they leave an Nazgul behind. That makes sense. I mean, why not? And so I move. They roll a 4 and get me with the reroll. Yeah, there you go. There's the benefit of rerolls. I mean, in this case, it was basically no investment, right? Like, sometimes if you're using dice to put rerolls on the Fellowship, sometimes that is a good idea, sometimes it isn't. In the case where you can just leave 1 behind like this, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good value. Because you're spending your die exactly as you were going to. And you sort of get to leave that reroll for free. Which pays off in this situation. Okay, so I get a 0 reveal, fine. But given that Strider's Strider's still around, not a huge deal. Not great. Like, I want to be using my dice for other things besides hiding. But, that Palantir isn't really spoken for this turn. That's a fine use of a Palantir to just hide if I have to do it. Interesting. So my opponent now moves the Nazgul. They're just straight up going for Lorien. But why not attack Woodland Realm first? Okay, so I hide the Fellowship. Yeah, okay, so now they're attacking Woodland Realm. And okay. So I put thinking here. I'm very clearly considering, now that their Nazgul have flown away, I mean, they're attacking with 7 HP against 6 HP and 2 leadership. Yeah, I should consider it. I'm guessing I don't do it. Yeah, I decided not to do it. If that attack had been something that put the elves if it had put the elves to war, given that I'm holding a shield wall, a daylight, and sudden strike, I mean, that was winnable. Yeah, I think if my opponent was if this was their plan from the beginning, that attack into Woodland Realm should have been done before the Nazgul were moved. There was no urgency on moving the Nazgul if you were just going to put Woodland Realm under siege as well, and you had Nazgul up in Dale. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Carrick. Why not? That attack into Woodland Realm put the North to war, and given that army from Mordor ended up Shadows Gathering over to Lorien, and Southrons and Easterlings are not at war, that Woodland Realm army is not enough to take Woodland Realm. The Dew line went from looking like it was going to be absolutely smothered to now being in pretty, not great shape, but like not bad shape. I have a muster point for the North, and I'm not in danger of losing any of those strongholds, evidently. So, my opponent starts moving their Southrons and Easterlings around in anticipation of rolling some musters next turn. Fair enough. And I move out now. Why? I guess I know I can get to Dale next turn. If my opponent has Ringrazor Abroad, that's the only thing that would stop me from taking Dale at the start of next turn. And then I'm forcing them to attack Dale and further weakening their Dew line army and probably getting to retreat into Erebor. Yeah, that's pretty good. Everyone was Sound Toil. Interesting. I still don't have Gandalf. It's now turn 4. But of course, they just got their first minion turn 3, so maybe not surprising. Low dice. Yeah. I'm only on 4 dice, and they just got their 8th die. Path of the Woes I'm guessing do I just toss Path of the Woes here? I probably keep Axe and Bow because of the, we've pulled, 3 tiles out? Let me double check. Yeah, 3 tiles. And again, losing Gandalf to that 1 sort of puts you on the back foot, especially because it was a 1-eye, or 1R from an eye. Losing Gandalf to that kind of puts you on the back foot in terms of corruption. So I would guess that I throw a Path of Woes here. Yeah, I think that's right. I may be holding on to ideas of separating Strider for dead men because I can separate with Gwahir. I can Palantir separate, and with Faramir in hand, I could, and Dol Guldur is empty. North is at war. Am I entertaining thoughts of military in this game? Oh, well, let's see. All right, so my opponent rolled. Wow. Okay. Well, if I was entertaining thoughts of military, those are out the window. Because three movement against 1-eye, I'm just gonna sprint. I'm probably wishing I had an H, so I could retake Dale. Oh well. Yeah, and I say devastating because almost certainly, a will would have been great there to get Gandalf, and H would have been great to take Dale. I guess a Palantir actually would have been fine to either separate, to do a Gwahir separation, a move and then a Gwahir separation to toss a companion into Woodland Realm, wouldn't be insane. Also, being able to play Axe and Bow would be great. Um, yeah. Well, why do I? Oh, my. I was gonna say, why did I pass? My opponent is just trying to take a turn before I go. Um, uh, yeah. So I just go ahead and move. I was probably thinking about what I was going to do with my turn. Um, and my opponent just rolls a 6. That's pretty frustrating. I mean, that's a bunch of almost all of these hits have been against one eye. I mean, let's look. Yeah, my opponent has rolled literally one eye all game. And so this hunt efficiency is pretty bonkers. Like that's now the fourth tile in turn 4, and there's only been 5 dice that have been eyes. That's not great. Like if you're free people, that's sad. All right, so I take a 2. Do I just soak this? I take a random, and I get kind of lucky. I mean, again, maybe I'm just fine. Like if Strider dies, it would be boohoo sad, but maybe I'm just okay with it. Like, am I really feeling that much time pressure here? Yeah, I guess I'm sort of assuming Lorien is cooked. And if I had been able to retake Dale this turn, I bet I wouldn't feel time pressure. Uh, as much as I probably do. Because I'm, let's just, I'm assuming I'm going to get to move 3 times this turn. That's not unreasonable. I mean, yeah, I got hit the first time, but not unreasonable that I would think I would get to move 3 times, which means I'm probably getting into Mordor next turn. On turn 5. Probably planning on a turn 7 or turn 8 dunk. Do I really think that my opponent is going to get a military victory by turn 6 or 7? Not really. I mean, Southron and Easterlings aren't at war yet. Well, let's see what happens. Born of Sorrow and Toil. Why did I take a random? Why not just soak those 2 and then play There Is Another Way at some point? You know what? I was probably assuming I was going to be missed there. I mean, 16% is low, but not 0. And if it had been a 1, I wouldn't have taken a casualty. So, yeah, I mean, there were only 5 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. How many tiles were there before that 2 was drawn? 5. Only 5 out of 13 tiles would have resulted in me taking a casualty. So if you multiply that by 16, or by the 16%, right? Like that's what, 7%, 6.5% that I was going to end up taking a random there. Yeah, that's not great. Probably less actually, because I wouldn't take a random against the 2. So it's like 5 or 6% that I would end up taking a random there. Maybe that's probably why I didn't play a character card first. Well, calculate your probabilities and then live with the consequences. Okay, what did I lose? I lost Dead Men. So again, as I said, my designs on a potential military game that I was probably thinking about went out the window with this roll. So losing Dead Men, fine. That was no longer a card I really cared about. In fact, these other 3, Axe and Bow, Guahir, and There Is Another Way, at this point in the game are significantly better than Dead Men. All right. We talk a little bit about how to do random discards. My opponent attacks Lorien. Yeah. Why not get the Witch King first? I play a Daylight, assuming that they're going to play, like, I probably assumed a Desperate Battle or a Deadly Strife or something here. Oops, sorry. And, played a Daylight thinking that would be the case. My opponent goes ahead and rolls no hits. I get none back. Great Host still triggers a Mighty 0 indeed. Yeah, +1, yep. And my opponent says okay. So my opponent says stop drop. My opponent probably forgot here that they didn't have Witch King. I'm sure we're gonna talk about this. Yeah, I thought Yeah, you tried to bring him in when it was my first action of the round. So my opponent tried to take an action before, Free People goes first every turn, and my opponent tried to take the first action of the round by mustering the Witch King. I reminded them it was my turn, and then moved, and then I think they just forgot that they had to undo that Witch King, which is a bit of a bummer. Yeah. I mean, my opponent feels bad about it, but not a big deal. I mean, like, this is an easy thing to back out. I kind of feel bad that they forgot. But, that can happen. All right, so my opponent plays Phlox, and another 6. I get hit again. The hunt 6s are plentiful. Let's look at statistics here. Yeah, I mean, my opponent hasn't really rolled any combat dice at all, right? Have we rolled any combat dice? I don't think so. Oh yeah, sorry. There's been the one set of combat dice, in Lorien, which were 6 dice under 3. So yeah, I mean, my opponent has rolled what 8 hunt dice, maybe 7 or 8 hunt dice, and they've got 5 6s. No wonder this game feels so bad for the Free People, just getting butchered on their way through Middle Earth. So my opponent, yeah, now they get the Witch King. I go ahead and hide with my muster. They bring the South Rounds of Easterlings to war. Yeah. I mean, if they've got Corsairs, then I am maybe in a little bit of trouble. I move again. Sure. Wow. A safe move. We needed that. And again, that was still a 50-50 to get hit, but like I got hit on a 16% and a 33%. So it's a 50-50 is the most likely one, and of course that's the one that misses. It's classic War of the Ring. I've left myself 0 dice here, but I probably don't care. There wasn't anything that I desperately needed to do that I was going to do this turn. Just moving as rapidly as possible. Like, I often, will reserve dice, but like, there was no point in reserving that muster. I'm not going to use it for anything besides hiding and moving. This is actually related to something that happened in the previous game. I probably wanted to just get a move on before Lorien blew up and my opponent started relocating Nazgul on top of me. Because yeah, there was no or like, my opponent maybe is holding or cycles into a Nazgul Search or a Nazgul Strike or a tile drawing card that ends up slowing me down this turn. We talked about this a lot last game where the not using a C dice earlier in the turn when it was sort of that we knew what that die was going to be used for, and continuing to pass like ultimately probably cost my opponent getting to Mordor a turn early and then cost them a game. So I guess taking my own advice here and just scrambling as fast as possible with those C dice when I had them. All right, so my opponent attacks Lorien, plays a Desperate Battle. I play no card. Is that... Why not just play Faramir there? Am I just assuming that Lorien's going to blow up and I decide to say Faramir for something else? That's probably what I'm doing. Although Faramir wouldn't be a crazy play since my opponent only has 1 press. Like, Lorien might soak an extra attack die if I play Faramir there. All right, whatever. I decided not to. And 3 back. Wow, that's lucky. So my opponent got 3, but yeah, I mean, it would be good to have 2 hit points instead of 3 here, but Lorien was probably cooked anyway, especially if they go no card. Yeah, so I also gave my opponent the ability to play no card here by not playing Faramir, right? Like, just going to go for the single 6. If they had to get 2 6s, I'm imagining they would have spent a card here. So again, just a way of making my opponent spend resources. All right, I get 1 back. Yeah, and they're just dead. Fine. I can do no things. Yeah, true. Well, okay. If you're Shadow and you have these 3 dice left, without knowing, I mean, we don't know what's in his hand, but like, what are your priorities right now? Let's talk about that. I'm probably now on track to dunk turn 4. I mean, I still don't have Gandalf. It's a bit of a pain. I'm it's turn 4. I'm probably going to get into Mordor turn 5. Maybe a turn 7 dunk. So if you're Shadow, you have to figure out how to win on turn 6. And so what would you be thinking about? You definitely are going to... What are your priorities here? Path to... So you need to take Woodland Realm, for sure. And hold Dale. So you need to get 5 more. Probably need to count on getting Corsairs. I feel like my opponent is kind of in the position here of either they need to go to Dol Amroth the hard way, and, you know, there may be a turn where I just roll 0 musters. I only have 4 dice. They either need to go to Dol Amroth the hard way, or they gotta hope they pull something like Corsairs or A New Powers Rising. Because their points do seem like they're going to have to come from Woodland Realm, Helm's Deep, and Dol Amroth, and then Pelargir or Edoras and hold Dale. So with that in mind, right, like, I think that with the army dice, I'd probably move the Easterune army out to Vale. I'd probably start moving the Witch King down to Parth Celebrant. And then, you know, I don't know what's in their hand, so I don't know what that Palantir is for. But then that C can be used to move to Fangorn or Eastamnet. See what they do. That's not it. Yeah, I see why they did that. Protecting Dale, sure, but the move out from Gorgoroth, I don't think I agree with. Although it does, you know, probably happy to see it because it means if they think Minas Tirith is going to be some of their points, not playing Faramir's Rangers may have been prophetic. But I certainly didn't foresee Minas Tirith being on their target list, but we'll see what happens. Wormtongue. Doesn't that do nothing? Witch King's out. Is that even playable? As soon as Rohan is activated. Yeah, I don't think that card's playable. I mean, I guess you can play it, but it's immediately discarded, isn't it? Weird. All right. Wow, that's surprising. Why did I go into Minas Tirith? Did I really feel like I needed the healing? I guess I felt like I had time. And if I roll, you know, a will here, was I trying to make myself safe from, like, Search, Strike, Cruel Weather, etc.? And I did that by moving into Minas Tirith. Did I really need the healing? I'm holding Axe and Bow, and there is another way. And File. Strange. Oh, I wanted to get rid of Warren with Sorrow and Toil. Duh. Because my cards are so good, and because I felt like I had time, I wanted to get rid of Warren with Sorrow and Toil. Okay. So not a lot of attacks for my opponent. I'm sure I am thrilled with this roll, actually. This is a great roll for free people. I'll probably move once, and bring in Gandalf, and then just have a bunch of musters. Yeah, that's. I mean, there may be an argument for, like, if you're going to commit to going to Minas Tirith, shouldn't you use it to heal more? But yeah, I could use that. Maybe I do. I could use that sea dice to play File or Axe and Bow, and then get an extra heal. But I'm guessing I just move, planning to get in next turn, and wanting to make sure that, like, you know, let's say I only roll 1 movement next turn, which, you know, it's happened enough where you have a turn of 0 or 1 movement on 5 dice. You play enough and you see that happen so many times that you start to hedge against things like that just in case. Because, you know, if I stay here, I'm probably feeling like I'm still okay on my turn clock, but that I do need to get in next turn. All right. So I attack out of Woodland Realm. Wow, that's bold. So I did none of the things that I just predicted. And instead, because I have 6 hit points to 5 hit points and a 2 leadership advantage and an advantageous position, that was probably what drove the decision. If I hadn't top decked an advantageous position, I probably wouldn't do this. But I'm probably happy to sit in Minas Tirith another turn if I can muster a bunch of elves into Woodland Realm. That's almost certainly what's happening here. Cool. I like it. Yeah. So I just lead with that. I'll get 1 hit, but my opponent gets 0 because in the advantageous position blocked that 5 from being a hit. So now it's 6 hit points against 4. Yeah, and I'm probably just going to keep going. And my opponent retreats. Yeah. If I were them, I probably would have fought it out. I probably would have downgraded the elite and just tried to do as much damage to that army as possible. Since you have all these recruits, right? Since they have all these musters, they could have recruited a bunch of elites into Rune here, North Rune. So it may have made sense to just fight that Woodland Realm battle to the death and try to grind down some hit points there. Anyway, I guess I get Gandalf. I put Gandalf in Woodland Realm. Oh my. Yeah, why not? Sure. This is turning into quite the interesting turn. Yeah, happy to put Gandalf in Woodland Realm because it is now, I liberated it with a sortie, and we got some musters in hand. So my opponent's so my opponent's focusing on starting to attack Rohan. I think that's a mistake. I think those musters should have been spent putting South Rounds and Easterlings to war, mustering into North Rune, and going to at least put Gandalf under siege. Like, are we going to have a military game on our hands here? After all that I talked about with respect to abandoning the military game? Maybe. I genuinely don't remember this game, so... Okay, I roll 1 hit with the regular Left and Fords of Eisen. My opponent... One of the downsides of bringing Gandalf into Woodland Realm, of course, is that my opponent can just empty Orthanc. They don't feel, pressure to leave units there. Put Helm's Deep under siege. That I am definitely thinking about military stuff here. Okay, so by saving a Palantir for last tier, and maybe this is a trap. I don't remember. They might have one of the recruiting cards for Dol Guldur. But since they didn't save a muster, and they had so many musters, and I did save this H dice, I can put pressure on Dol Guldur. Yeah, and I move that elite in with Gandalf. That's pretty nice. And they're fighting Uruk-hai. Huh. Yeah, I'm guessing they have... This isn't a crazy decision. Like, you don't know... I've got 4 character cards, so those could be ends. Would I have put Gandalf up in Woodland Realm if I had 0 ends, though? Yeah, probably. Or if I had end cards, would I have put Gandalf up in Woodland Realm? Wouldn't I have just put him in Fangorn? But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Let's see what happens. So they play a card, and I can't play one. I mean, that's devastating. So they leave with a Devilry and only get 1 hit. That's pretty sad. I get just the 1 back. They take their hit. And they go no card. Yeah, I mean, they're just... Look, fighting Uruk-hai, not just for your opponent not being able to play a card, not being able to play a card round 1, it also functionally saves you 3 hits on yourself as Shadow, because you don't have to take those downgrades. And so, yeah, it was 6 HP against, 5? Or 12 HP against 5. You're already expected to win. You've got 5 leadership. Like, yeah, this is a great use of fighting Uruk-hai. And then I roll 0 back. Yeah, so they're just dead. Kind of disappointing that I only did 1 hit back. Actually, 1 hit back in total. That's a lot of dice to get just 1 hit. Let's see what this... Yeah, I mean, I'm only -3 on hits, but... That is troubling. So I do feel like I just went from feeling really comfortable with where I was at game pace wise to feeling very uncomfortable. Um, would be my guess. Uh, I draw some cards, discard some cards, heal one for still being in Minas Tirith, and my opponent rolls a bunch of eyes, and I only roll one movement. Do I just stay in Minas Tirith another turn? Maybe. I mean, I'm sure with my first action here, I'm going to use that H to take Dol Guldur. What am I doing with the other half of it? Probably North Downs. Let's see. Oh, Park and Druiden. Sure. Probably assuming... Okay, so that was me probably thinking ahead a little bit to what my opponent is going to do with that army in Helm's Deep. If I hadn't... I mean, I've obviously committed to using that H to take Dol Guldur. I'm sure I'm planning to use a bunch of these musters to start creating a nuisance in Rohan. And I've got a scouts in hand, which makes it more likely that I can be a pain. So my opponent, yep, yeah. So they're moving quickly to cover up Rohan, which makes total sense. And I do the obvious thing of stopping them from doing that. And they attack. Okay, so they attack Edoras. Probably a slight error. Fold is the standard first attack in a position like this so that you can stop Edoras from retreating. But, they get their hits, fine. And I go ahead and recruit into Fold. But now that army is on the loose, right? Like if my opponent had attacked Fold first, and then attacked into Edoras, there's nowhere to scouts to. And, I just get pressed down. But instead, my opponent attacks Fold and I scouts away. And now I have not a big army, but a Hobbit-led army. Seems pretty good. Is this going to turn into a military game? I mean, I have 2 points. It's not a super secure 2 points, but it's not like there's... the closest shadow armies are 3 moves away. Do I Faramir now? After all that discussion of not using Faramir back in Lorien, do I just play it now? No, I play Axe and Bow. And then I move. Sure. I get hit. And I just take it. Yeah. Probably still thinking about Foul Thing. There's a lot of 1s left in the hunt pool. Yeah, still 3 1s left in the hunt pool. So I'm probably just thinking about like Foul Thing or something like that. Having Axe and Bow in hand to protect Strider. My opponent plays Palantir to end the turn. This is turning into a longer cast than I had anticipated. I don't remember this game being this long, but clearly it was. So I get rid of Palantir immediately because my opponent has rolled 2. That makes sense. And I have the 2 moves that I need to get into Mordor. So that is a very reasonable thing to do. My opponent musters the Southrons and Easterlings to war. I have Grey Company, but am I really going to separate Strider? Probably not. My win condition here, like, yes, I have military shenanigans out on the board, but like my win condition, those military shenanigans may just be to buy time, right? Like my win condition here is still very much a dunk. So I'm guessing Grey Company isn't going to come into play. But whatever, let's see what happens. I move. I missed. That's great. That is a big miss, because that means that I get into Mordor for sure this turn. All right, so my opponent walks out. I'm probably wishing I had a way to play Faramir right now. But I don't. I get hit. It's 2R. That's painful. Yeah. I mean, about a 50-50 shot to get hit. A 6 out of 10 chance of being revealed. So not super likely to get revealed on this move, but not unrealistic. So I just take the 2. Yeah, that puts me up to 4. I'm probably assuming my opponent has had time to draw into like Morgul Wound or something at this point. and get lucky and get an eye in Minas Morgul. That's big. And I guess I'm glad I took those Minas Tirith heals. I mean, I needed those. Did I need it real bad? I mean, I'm at effective -5. My opponent hasn't played any reds. Like, Fellowship's very healthy. Lure. Okay, I'm at effective -3. Never mind. But probably still feeling pretty good. Oh, I'm thinking about hiding. But there's still 3 tile drawing cards, right? Yeah. All 3 tile drawing cards are still in play, so I almost certainly don't hide. And if they had more... Oh, my... Okay. Wow. So I think this is a mistake by my opponent. Playing their last C card here now tells me I can hide. I no longer have to be worried about one of those tile drawing cards. I was kind of assuming that last card in their hand was a tile drawing card, and I didn't want to get double revealed and pull 2 more tiles in Minas Morgul. But now that my opponent has 0 C cards in hand, I know I can safely hide with Strider to start my push up Mount Doom next turn. Hidden. Yeah, I mean, my opponent has fully given up on Woodland Realm, which is, makes sense. At best, they could have put it under siege, and have pivoted to their. It seems like their plan for points now include Minas Tirith and Dol Amroth, which especially because I haven't mustered Gondor down yet. Why didn't I muster Gondor down with one of those musters? Probably just assuming that my opponent is going, okay, so it maybe would have made sense to muster down Gondor. However, if my opponent immediately attacks into Minas Tirith, I have 2 musters for Dol Amroth. If my opponent uses their muster first, and so they're left with 2 attacks, and I'm left with 2 musters, I'm happy to use one of those musters to hide, and then they're going to attack Minas Tirith, and then I can use that muster in Dol Amroth. So, sure, fine, whatever. My opponent gets 1 hit. And I am playing a ring? I guess, yeah. Sure. Had I been planning to do that the whole time? I mean, I still have 2 rings left. So why not? That's pretty good. I leave 2 guys out and only move in Elite and the Hobbit. Yeah, I like it. Really, but a way to play... if I'd had any way to play Faramir that turn, that would have saved me a ring. But probably happy to have a Hobbit in there. I mean, I have a Daring Defiance, I have a Brave Stand, got a Shield Wall, got a Daylight. Those are good cards if you've got a companion involved in a siege. Oh, that's fun. So I am just spreading units out to be a pain. Yeah? I mean, if my opponent... If that unit is out in Eastamnet, they have to account for it with how they spend dice. And avoid a potential Rohan retake. Or they have to attack it, which eats an attack dice. Cool. I like it. Okay, so because I gave them... This is, of course, one of the risks of giving a ring. Because I gave a ring, my opponent is now going to use the Southrons and Easterlings army to rush Dol Amroth, it looks like. And I only have... Yeah. I do that. Why? Yeah, I mean, this is still me being a pain, right? If I get... Now if I get an H, I'll just retake Pelargir and force them to spend attacks in other ways, right? Why not? I decide not to do that. And just flip. Okay. Yeah. I'm not... Am I happy with how I played this turn? Not really. I feel like I screwed up the last couple dice of that turn. My opponent didn't have enough dice to put Dol Amroth under siege, and I spent I spent musters protecting Minas Tirith, but that army out in Druiden Forest was also a good army to just have out in Druiden Forest. And then if my opponent had put Minas Tirith Under Siege, like, yeah, it wouldn't have been full, but then I could have mustered twice into Dol Amroth, or mustered once and hid the Fellowship and then been able to muster at the beginning of next turn. Strange. Because, yeah, I mean, Why is my opponent at 7 victory points? Am I miscounting? Oh yeah, they are. They are at 7. I mean, are they going to get 4 cities? Probably not. I mean, they could. So they probably still need 2 strongholds. Especially because I can retake Dale. Yeah, so they're probably... being able to defend Dol Amroth there probably would have been smart. Right? Like, I know where they need to get their last points from. Am I just planning on Minas Tirith holding? That's a lot of Isengard elites that are just 2 steps away from Minas Tirith. Do I really think that's going to hold? Probably not. And I sort of just gave up on Dol Amroth. I don't know about that. Alright, so I get Mirror of Galadriel, and I instantly discard Dane. Yeah, I mean, Dewline is sort of not on the table for them anymore. And that Valor isn't really a valuable combat card for me at this point. So I'm clearly thinking about the other one. Yeah, I discard my Brave Stand. Brave Stand is good, but like Daring Defiance is better. Especially if you're playing it with a Hobbit. Cool. Okay, so does my opponent have enough attacks to win? Yes, they do. They have 4 attacks. They only need 1 to take Dol Amroth, that's for sure. And so then that leaves them with 3. So interestingly, 3 attacks is not enough to reinforce Minas Tirith with all of those Isengard elites. That's probably... If they had... if my opponent had 5 attacks here instead of 4, I'd be in big trouble. Big trouble. But with only 4, I know I probably have another turn. So I start by... Start by mustering in Minas Tirith. Isildur gets played. Oh, that's brutal. I can't do that. That was definitely cheating. You can't use Axe on Isildur. Huh. That's problematic. I move for our... Okay, so it wouldn't have mattered. Because I would have just used it here. Because that was a 4 reveal hit, so I would have... I go up to 5R, I would have gone up to 5R anyway. Okay. Well, alright, minor foul on my part, but doesn't really impact the game at all. Yeah, so my opponent's playing for the win here. That makes sense. Like, Dol Amroth is almost certainly a sure thing. Minas Tirith is not. But let's see what happens. They attack Minas Tirith first to cycle. Yeah. And I lead with Faramir, and they lead with a Deadly Strife. Huh. Cool. And they get 4 hits, and I get 5. Yeah, so... Minas Tirith is definitely holding. Like, I bought myself another turn with that round of combat. Like, my opponent's pressing and drawing, but it's 6 hit points against 5. Like, all they're maybe really doing here is putting the Witch King in danger. I'm guessing I either play a Daring... I'll probably play a Daring Defiance here. Oh, no, they didn't play a card, so I go ahead and just play a Heroic Death. Because I've got 1 leader in there to soak, and I'm probably, having thoughts of sortying against the Witch King here. Because if I do, 2 or 3 hits... Let's see what happens. I get 4 hits. Yep. So I'm going to be at 4 hit points with a Hobbit, and my opponent is going to be at 2 hit points. That's pretty good for me. Yeah. So I sortie. And my opponent... this is actually kind of a big deal. My opponent has 0 character cards again, so I know that they don't have a Dread and Despair. There is value. Like I know that Isildur was played for effect, but like I would probably sortie here no matter what. But like if my opponent had 3 hit points and they had a character card in hand, I would be worried about a sortie running into a Dread and Despair, because that would functionally lose me the game. Not this turn, but next turn, right? Like I'd be dead. Interesting. All right, so I attack out. Do I get? Oh, I get him on the reroll. Which hobbit is this? Yeah, Pippin kills the Witch King. Thrilling. And wow, my opponent gets no hits back. All right, well, that just kind of flipped the game on its head. Yeah, I don't think there was a need to do that final press that my opponent did. They're not. That final press was probably a mistake. It opened up this possibility. Whereas without a press there, right? Like this attack could be used to bring over all those elites into Druid and Forest, and then you just reinforce with all those Isengard elites and Minas Tirith, and then just crush it next turn. Because I'm still 4 steps out from dunking. Like you probably have time. Wow. All right, so my opponent has too many dice. They forgot to get rid of their witch. Wow. I mean, what an incredible roll. Oh, I do notice. So I noticed that there's an extra dice for Witch King. Let's think. What am I going to do with this turn? I'm probably going to use that to muster. And Minas Tirith? Do I have elites left? Yeah. So I'm probably playing around. I mean, I have to assume my opponent is halfway through the deck. I have to assume that they have Day Without Dawn. So I'm going to lead with probably this being a muster. Yeah. Because that basically guarantees me another turn. Right? And then, I have a lot to do with my C dice besides just moving. Play File. That'd be good. My opponent puts a red tile in. I play File. And my opponent starts mustering up in Mordor. Is doubling down on Minas Tirith from Mordor worth it? Maybe? I guess I think what I would do here is probably recruit some Nazgul, kill Dol Amroth, and then just cross your fingers that, Free People doesn't dunk next turn. I don't know what other choice you have. Because there's no real reason to recruit regulars there, unless you're worried about a Free People military victory. Which I guess could happen. Am I really going to abandon Minas Tirith, though, when Shadow is on 7 victory points and Dol Amroth is cooked? Probably not. So I think, like, if you're going to recruit, probably Nazgul, or just start by using this C to attack Dol Amroth, batter it down. I mean, you're holding 5 strategy cards. Surely one of those will help. Kill Dol Amroth and then start, and then use recruit some Nazgul and then get set up to have full leadership for Minas Tirith next turn, and just cross your fingers that Free People doesn't dunk. I think that's probably what I would do. All right, well, let's see what happens. I play Elven Cloaks. I'm clearly very worried about corruption. Maybe I just played a game before this where there are 4 eyes, and one of them is the red one, and an eye here would really hurt. Maybe I just played a game where I lost to corruption, was feeling a little nervous about it. I mean, I'm at effective 2 corruption. I'm holding There Is Another Way. Seems like I'm in fine shape. Yeah, okay, so my opponent goes for Dol Amroth. I probably would have used the C dice here. They lead with an Onslaught, and take 4. Yeah, 2 hits is good. But you did kind of nuke the army that could have been used to take Minas Tirith with that onslaught. So I move. I ask for a 3. I get a 0. I wasn't even greedy. I'm guessing I just move again. Like, and I wouldn't be great, but 7 corruption at step 4 with there is another way in hand is fine. So my opponent, yeah, is coming back towards Pelargir and sending the Southrons and Easterlings towards Dale. Yeah, I guess I still have all those elites in fold. So nuking that army in Dol Amroth wasn't a huge deal. Move again. And get a -2. I mean, look, this is why you put the blue tiles in, but, like, it is so much better to be lucky than good at this game. That's just what are you going to do, right? Like, if you're Shadow, what are you supposed to do about that? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Okay, I'm now at effective 0 on step 4. This kind of, it feels like we're headed, and I get guards. My goodness. I mean, exactly the card you would want to top deck. Like, what do you, if you're Shadow, what are you supposed to do here? I move. I get a 3. I mean, truly, and just that's the perfect tile, because now there is another way is playable. So now I have 3 more moves in hand. So even if I hit a red eye, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters if I then hit another eye, because I think that would kill me. Why did Laker move the corruption for me? Yeah, unless a red eye. Right, if I draw a red eye, which isn't super likely. But yeah, I mean, Minas Tirith is now buffed back up, and I'm holding guards. Like, they're moving Nazgul around. What was my opponent doing? Ring Raids. Yeah, if you've got Ring Rays in hand, I mean, one of those musters really should have been spent on Nazgul, because then you can have 5 leadership with 3 Nazgul in the mouth. I mean, you've got the elites, but those disappear over the course of combat. And then they use... Oh. Yeah, this is good. This is really good. They definitely should have mustered Nazgul now, because this is their win condition. Right? I mean, if they take Erebor, they just win. So they... My opponent definitely should have left a unit in Dale. And because they have now played Ring Raids, I know that Palantir is not an attack. And so these Southrons and Easterlings units and Lossarnach are stuck. Fighting Uruk-hai has been played, right? Yeah, Fighting Uruk-hai has been played. Witch King is dead. So Grand doesn't matter. Yeah. So if that Ring Rays had been played with the Palantir, and you would have needed more Ring Rays last turn, yeah. So that muster last turn should have been spent on Nazgul. Although I guess they top decked it, right? Like, they top decked that character card, so no way to know that. But you did know you needed more leadership as the Shadow player in this situation. And yeah, but I'm now in a position where I don't even have to move this turn, because I can just take Pelargir to guarantee that I get an extra turn, even if Erebor falls. Right? Dale's liberated, that puts us to 8. We're taking Pelargir, puts us down to 7. I guess if my opponent then retakes Dale, if they take Erebor and then they're able to take Dale with that final sea die. But are they really going to be able to take Dale? No, right? I mean, unless they just roll 5 6s against Erebor, Dale is pretty safe. Well, but being able to move out that Hobbit army into Osgiliath was enabled by Losternock having no leadership in it. Okay, so my opponent goes ahead and attacks Erebor. I play no quarter, yeah, because I think I'm already contemplating in the game. I'm contemplating like, okay, well, if they're going to get to 10, how are they going to get to 10? It would have to be a retake of Dale, and so I'm just trying to do maximum damage with the dwarves to make retaking Dale as unlikely as possible. Opponent gets no hits, and I get no hits. That's disappointing. So the Great Host triggers. My opponent presses because they have to, right? Like the only way that they stay in this game is by pressing. They play Day Without Dawn here. Yeah, I mean, it hurts, but it's time. And they get 2 hits against the Daylight. That's pretty good. I only get 1 back. Yeah, the dwarves are not doing very well. They press again and go no card and just roll a ton of 5s. I mean, that hurts. There are so many cards that make 5 hits for the Shadow, and this just happened to be a combat where no 5s, where 5s don't work. And yeah, and then I attack with Gandhi. So yeah, the other thing about having Dale there is I'm sure am I gonna use guards here as an attack? Am I gonna use charge? No, I go no card. I assume I'm still keeping guards as like a hedge for Minas Tirith, because I don't need to win this Erebor, like quote unquote win. I don't need to kill the whole army. I'm just trying to do a bunch of damage to it, and I probably won't press either, like because I don't want them to be able to retreat to Withered Heath. I'm sure I'm just trying to do maximum damage here. Yeah, 3 and 3. Oh, I do press. That's probably a mistake. Because now, well, I mean, I know they only have that 1 Sea Dice attack. But yeah, if my opponent, yeah. So if I would have had to worry about Ringrazor Abroad here. Am I forgetting about a Palantir attack? Yeah, like I in case I do hit that red eye, yeah. Because then eyes are deadly. Yeah, I totally. So I play Gua. Oh, that's just rude. So I play Gua here and move the Hobbit. I am clearly in Bilbo's song. Yeah, I mean, this is just over. Even if I hit the red with 2 eyes in, it doesn't matter. Start with Ents. Okay, so that is an illegal play. Because Gandalf is not in Fangorn. But it doesn't matter. This game is over. Even if my opponent had drawn another red tile, there's still like no way that I lose with Bilbo, and there is another way. And a Palantir, 3 moves and a ring. Yeah. Okay. Well, not great that it ended on me making an illegal play by playing a second card after playing Ents. But this game was done. But thank you to Laker for letting me cast these matches. And on to the round of 32. Waldo and I haven't played yet. We've both been traveling quite a bit. But I expect he'll be back, I think, today or tomorrow, from when I'm recording this. And then we'll probably try to get some games in shortly after that. And then I'll try to cast those games very quickly after we play them. So that, we're not in the same position of the last 4 matches that I've cast where I literally didn't remember what happened. And I maybe will be able to give you a more accurate assessment of what I was thinking during the course of the game. since it'll be more fresh in my mind. Okay, great. Thanks for everybody who's hung in this long. I know this was a long video, and I'll see you for the next one.